Hello everyone, welcome to Helm of Science. So in the previous class we were discussing about the periodic properties. Okay, in that part we had a discussion about their atomic radius, their ionization enthalpy, and an introduction about the different types of SPDF block elements. Okay, so today's class we will be discussing about these following topics. First of all, we will discuss about electron gain enthalpy, or we can say as electron affinity. Next, we will discuss about electronegativity, followed by the diagonal relationship among the elements. And lastly, we will discuss about the position of hydrogen and inert gases in the periodic table. So without any further delay, let's get started with the first topic, that is electron gain enthalpy. Now, what does this word means? It is defined as the enthalpy change involved when an electron is added to an isolated gaseous atom. Suppose X is an isolated gaseous atom. So, when an electron is added into it will form a gaseous anion. That means X minus carrying a unit negative charge. That means it forms a gaseous anion. Okay, and the enthalpy change that has taken place during the conversion of this gaseous atom into gaseous anion, that enthalpy change or energy change is defined as the electron gain enthalpy, or we can say it as electron affinity. Okay, so here the electron gain enthalpy is defined as the amount of enthalpy change involved during the conversion of a gaseous atom to its gaseous anion. Okay. Now, in this aspect, there are variations across the period and down the group. So, first of all, we will discuss the trends of electron gain enthalpy across a period. Okay. So, talking about elements across the period, we know on moving from left to right, what happens? The size of the element decreases with increase in atomic number. On the other hand, what happens is the nuclear charge, the effective nuclear charge, that is the Z star, that increases, okay, with decrease in size. Okay. So what is happening here? These factors tend to increase the nuclear attraction that is experienced by the incoming electrons. That means as the size is decreasing, the nuclear attraction for the outermost electron is increased to a certain extent, and this will increase the numerical value of electron gain enthalpy. That means, to summarize the entire thing, we can say that across a period, the size of the element decreases. As a result, the nuclear attraction for the outermost electron increases, and as a result, the electron gain enthalpy or electron affinity increases across a period. Okay, the numerical value of electron affinity increases across the period. Okay, and this value of electron affinity is maximum for group 7a elements. Group 7a means halogen elements. They have the highest value of electron affinity. That means their tendency to attract electrons among themselves are the highest. Okay, it goes on increasing from left to right, and it reaches maximum value for the halogen groups. Okay, so this is the trend of electron affinity across the period. Next, we will talk about their trends down the group. Now, we know down the group, the size of the element increases with increase in atomic number. So what will happen? The effective nuclear charge, it will go on decreasing, and the nuclear attraction for the outermost electrons will be decreased as the size is increasing. So the outermost shell number will increase. So what will happen? Suppose this is the nucleus. Suppose this is fluorine, the outermost shell. For chlorine, what will happen? The shell's size will increase, the outermost shell size. Suppose this is chlorine. Suppose this is bromine. Okay. Suppose this is bromine. And lastly, suppose this is iodine. Okay. So if you look at their sizes, what I'm trying to explain here is the attraction between the nucleus and the outermost electrons will be decreased as the distance between the nucleus and the outermost electron is increasing. Okay, right? So what will be the result? What will be the result here? So due to the increase in this in the distance between nucleus and outermost electrons, their attraction will decrease, and hence the amount of energy required to remove the electron or to to accept an electron will be less. That is, the numerical value of electron gain enthalpy will go on decreasing. That is, the electron affinity, that is the love for electrons, will be decreased, will decrease down the group. Okay, but there is an anomaly here. You can see I'm writing the values of electron gain enthalpy. This is minus 328. Negative sign means electron is being energy is released here. Okay, minus 349. Bromine minus 25, and iodine, it is minus 295. So the values are, the values are more or less in accordance with the statement that I have just written above, except this one. Between fluorine and chlorine, you can see that the value of electron affinity, the numerical value of electron affinity, is increased to a certain extent. If I draw this graphically as well, if this is atomic number Z, okay, and this is your electron gain enthalpy, delta H, electron gain enthalpy. So you will observe that if this is fluorine, for chlorine, it will increase. Okay. For bromine, it will go down. And for iodine as well, it will go down. So what is the reason behind the increase in electron gain enthalpy from fluorine to chlorine? Okay, this we have to understand. So the reason is, while we are adding electron in fluorine, for fluorine, the electrons will be added in the 2p orbitals. Okay, 2p orbitals. And as we know that 2p subshells already contains electrons, so there will be electron-electron repulsion. There will be very high electron-electron repulsion among the 2p subshell. Okay, but if electrons are added in chlorine, then where will it add? It will be added in the 3p orbitals or 3p subshells. Okay, here, as the size of 3p orbital or 3p subshell is larger as compared to 2p, it will experience lesser electron-electron repulsion. Lesser electron-electron repulsion. That means the tendency of electrons to get accepted in the 3p orbital is more than that of fluorine. So that is why the electron gain enthalpy for chlorine is higher as compared to that of fluorine. Okay, another factor lies here that when electrons are being accepted in the 3p orbital of chlorine, that electron takes part, or I should say that electron can take part in delocalization. Okay, can delocalize itself in the vacant 3d orbitals of chlorine. But this sort of delocalization is not possible for fluorine because fluorine does not have any 2d orbital. Okay, 2d does not exist. Okay, so it cannot undergo delocalization in case of fluorine, but in case of chlorine, the electron have that liberty to get itself delocalized into the vacant 3d orbitals. So for that, the numerical value of electron gain enthalpy increases. So as a result, we can say that delta HEG of chlorine is greater than delta HEG of fluorine. Okay, that is the reason why electron gain enthalpy of chlorine is higher as compared to that of fluorine. Okay, I hope you understand this, right? Now, a very common question: halogens have very high electron gain enthalpy. Why? What is the reason behind this? So if you see their general electronic configuration, the general electronic configuration is NS2NP5. Okay. So for halogens, in order to attain their inert gas configuration, that is NS2NP6, what will they have to do? They'll have to accept one electron, isn't it? And they will accept this electron very easily. Okay, that means they will tend to accept this electron in order to become stable configuration NS2NP6. Okay, so that is the reason why halogen atoms have a strong tendency to accept an additional electron, and as a result, the numerical values of their electron gain enthalpy are very high. That is why their delta Hg value is very high. Okay, electron gain enthalpies are very high. Okay, so this is all about your electron gain enthalpy or electron affinity. The orders you have to keep in mind, like the order of electron enthalpy across the period or down the group, this sort of things you have to be careful. Okay, so the next topic is electronegativity. Electronegativity is a very important concept in chemistry. Okay, so electronegativity, as you all know, it is the tendency of an atom to attract shared pair of electrons towards itself. Okay, when an atom is covalently bonded to another molecule. Okay, that means it has the tendency to attract electrons towards itself. Okay, now first of all, we will study about their variation across the period. Variation across a period. Okay, so again, as we move from left to right, what is happening? The size decreases, isn't it? With increase in atomic number, atomic radius or atomic size decreases. So the attraction between nucleus and outermost electrons will increase. The nuclear attraction will be increased. That means the outer electrons will face very high amount of pull by the nucleus towards itself, and that will increase their electronegativity. So the electronegativity will also increase across the period. because the outer electron experiences a greater amount of pull by the nucleus, and hence their electronegativities are very high. Okay, if you compare between like lithium, beryllium, boron, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine. Okay, if I talk about uh, these period elements, okay, period, second, okay, and if I write down their electronegativity values, then what you will observe? You will observe this sort of values: 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5, 4. Okay, so you can see that there is a gradual increase in the value of electronegativity, because as the size decreases, the nuclear attraction for the outermost electrons increases, and this increase the electronegativity of the elements across the period. Okay, this is very easy to understand. Now we will move on to the variation of electronegativity down the group. Okay, so down the group the scenario will be exactly opposite. We know down the group the atomic radius or atomic size increases, isn't it? Atomic size increases. So what will happen? The nuclear attraction for the outermost electron, it will decrease, because now the number of shells has increased. So the distance between nucleus and outermost electron has increased. As a result, nucleus won't be able to pull the outermost electrons to that extent, isn't it? So the nuclear attraction as a result will go down, and this consequently will decrease the value of electronegativity. So electronegativity will be decreased here. Okay. So if I take suppose a group 17 elements, that is the halogen elements, and if I talk about their electronegativities, fluorine, chlorine, bromine, iodine, and astatine. Okay. If we look at their electronegativity values, you will see that the values will go on decreasing. So there is a steady decrease in the value of electronegativity as we move down the group. The reason I have just discussed. So that is also very important. Properties in chemistry. Electronegativity is a very important property. Okay. All right. Next, we will discuss about diagonal relationship. Now, what do you mean by this diagonal relationship? There are certain elements in a periodic table, especially in the second period. Okay, second period elements. Second period elements. Certain elements are there in the second period which show similar properties with the diagonally opposite elements of the third period. Okay, I'm just writing here. Show similar properties with the diagonally opposite elements of the third period. Okay, third period. And this similarity in properties is referred to as diagonal relationship. Okay, now we need to know what is the reason behind this similarity in properties. Reason we have to find out. Now, the reason for this diagonal relationship is due to the opposing trends in periodic properties. Okay, it is due to opposing trends in periodic properties across a period and down the group. Okay, this is due to the opposing trends in the periodic properties across a period and down the group. Let's take an example. Suppose the atomic or ionic radii of the elements decreases along a period that we know, but it again increases as we move down the group, right? Similarly, ionization enthalpy, electron gain enthalpy, and electronegativity, these parameters tend to increase along a period, but if we go down the group, they will decrease. Okay, but if we move diagonally, on moving diagonally, what will happen? On moving diagonally, what will happen? These two opposite trends will mutually cancel each other. Okay, this term is important. Mutually cancel each other. That is why the elements of period 3, 2 and 3, they show similar chemical properties. Okay, and they are diagonally placed. That is why lithium resembles magnesium, beryllium resembles aluminium, and boron resembles silicon. Okay, I'm just showing you the diagonally related elements. How are they arranged? These are the groups. Suppose 1A, this is 2A, this is 3A, this is 4A. Okay. Next is second period, and here it is third period. Okay. Now we have to write down the name of elements. So lithium, beryllium, boron, carbon. Right. Next we will write the third period elements: sodium, magnesium, aluminium, silicon. Now what will happen? The diagonally opposite elements, the diagonally related elements, okay, they will show similar properties, that like this. Okay, lithium with magnesium, beryllium with aluminium, boron with silicon, right? So these diagonally opposite elements will show similar properties among themselves. This is what the diagonal relationship is all about. Okay. Due to the difference or due to the opposite trends in their properties along the period and down the group, their properties tend to cancel each other. That is why they will show similar properties. This is about diagonal relationship. But this type of diagonal relationship is applicable for representative elements. Representative elements, okay, not for D and F block. That is not for transition and inner transition elements. Why? Because the group, that means this D and F group elements, have many properties which are opposite nature as compared to that of their representative elements. Okay, that means their you cannot mutually cancel their properties. Okay, they have certain unique properties which are quite different from that of the representative elements. Okay, that is why the diagonal relationship is invalid for the D and F block elements. You cannot apply diagonal relationship for D and F block elements. Okay. Excuse me. So now we will move on to the last topic, that is position of hydrogen and inert gases. Firstly, we will discuss about the position of hydrogen. Okay, talking about position of hydrogen, there was a strong argument about placing it in group 1A and group 7A. Okay, so first of all, we will see why hydrogen can be placed in, or hydrogen is placed in, I mean, the reason for placing hydrogen in group 1A, in group 1A. Why will we place hydrogen in group 1A? Okay. This is because the electronic configuration of hydrogen is 1s1, right? So like other elements of group 1A, like sodium, potassium, rubidium, the valency of hydrogen is 1. It is univalent. So we can easily place hydrogen in group 1A. That is 1 valence electron. Okay. Also, what we can do is, due to their electropositive character, for group 1A elements, you know, they are highly electropositive. That means, like sodium, what they tend to do, they will form cation by losing 1 electron in order to fulfill their electronic configuration. In the same way, potassium will lose 1 electron to form K+. So in the same way, hydrogen also has a tendency to lose 1 electron and become H+, cation. That is why they are placed in group 1A. That means hydrogen is here is placed in group 1A. There are many other reasons, like they have strong reducing properties. Okay, they can form stable oxides, their electron affinity, right? These are the reasons for which hydrogen was placed in group 1A. Among them, these two are very important. Next, position of hydrogen in group 7A. Position of hydrogen in group 7A. Okay. So if we look up at the electronic configuration of hydrogen, it is 1s1, and for group 7A elements, their electronic configuration, valence shell electronic configuration is ns2np5. Okay, this is their configuration. That is, the outermost orbit of both hydrogen and the elements of group 7A has 1 electron less, than the electronic configuration, of nearest inert gas, Okay, so that is why what they will do, they will always tend to form anions by accepting 1 electron, because once they form that anion, they will gain their electronic, stable inert gas electronic configuration, isn't it? That is why fluorine, it will accept 1 electron to become F minus. It will easily form F minus, Cl minus, Br minus, I minus. Okay, like that, hydrogen will also take up 1 electron, 1s1, it has the configuration. So it will take 1 electron and it becomes H minus to form their stable duplet configuration of helium. Okay, so that is the reason why hydrogen can also exist as H minus by accepting an electron. And this is the reason why hydrogen has been placed. It was the question was raised that hydrogen can also be placed in group 7A. Okay. Also, there are other reasons like formation of covalent compounds, or you can say that their non-metallic characters are there. Due to the non-metallic characters, 7A elements are non-metals: fluorine, chlorine, bromine, iodine. They are non-metallic elements, and hydrogen is also a non-metal. So they can also be placed in group 7A. Okay. So the last one is position of inert gas. Position of inert gas. Position of inert gases in the periodic table. Now, inert gas, we know, have a very stable electronic configuration of their valence shell, and that is NH2 NP6, right? So for this reason, as their outermost electrons shells are completely filled, they will have, or they will show no tendency to lose or gain electron to form ions, isn't it? They will show no tendency to form cations and anions by losing or by gaining electrons respectively, isn't it? Because their outermost configuration is already stable. So we can say that their combining capacity or valency, combining capacity or valency is 0. Okay. Thus, they are placed in group 0 of the periodic table. Okay. That is why they are placed in group 0 in the periodic table. And you should also know that this group, that is this 0 group, forms a bridge or the connecting link between the most electropositive alkali metals of group 1A and the most electronegative halogen elements of group 7A. Okay. The 0 groups forms a bridge or a connecting link between the most electropositive alkali metals of group 1A and the most electronegative halogen elements of group 7A. Okay. So this is the reason why inert gases are placed in group 0, because their tendency to form cation or anion, or rather I should say their combining capacity or valency is 0, right? So this was all about the properties of the elements in the periodic table. There are different properties. Okay, so this type of trends in the periodic properties, these are very common questions that generally come in board exams. So go through these properties carefully, and I hope all of you have understood the concepts. And if you have any doubts or any questions regarding these topics, then you can ask me in the comment box. Okay? And in the next video, we will discuss another chapter of chemistry. So until then, study these topics carefully and prepare well for your exams. Okay, because the exams are, one day it will happen. So be prepared for it. Okay, all the best and stay safe, and give a like and share among your friends, and subscribe to our channel for more of such videos. Thank you so much.